Hello and welcome to the Sprint 1 review of the Polysocially application. Just today, refresher, I'm Scott Caruso, the creator, designer, programmer, engineer for the application. Unfortunately, I'm having a bit of some technical difficulties today. The application that I normally use to display my Android on the computer screen is giving me some trouble. So we are going to do this the old-fashioned way, and I'm going to show you on my Android device the progress that we've made. And actually, why don't we go ahead and do that first before we talk about the application. So I'm just going to go ahead and load it up, and you'll when I tap the button, you'll see Polysocially comes up, and you can actually see the first feature right there. Right at the bottom there, it told you that there was no connection to the network, because there is no connection to the network. That is one of the big features that we did this week. The network connectivity, it properly detects whether or not you're connected to the network. We also have the appropriate layout for 3 screens. So that was the main screen you just saw. The results screen, there is a list view there. It's not populated with any data yet. I'll show you in the code that there is actually a list view there. And then I have a debug button here to go to the third view, which is the politician details view. That has also been populated with the rough layout. So one of the big things that we did this week was we made sure that the layout for all 3 screens was there. And the last of the big features that we put together was the zip code feature. So you tap the zip code button there, and it prompts you to enter a 5-digit zip code. Not only that, but it does properly authenticate, or not authenticate, but verify that you've entered the correct zip code. So let's say you enter in a 4-digit zip code instead of 5, and you try to search. It gives you a warning that you need to enter a valid 5-digit zip code. For purposes of this application, it doesn't do anything. If you enter a correct zip code, it logs something into logging, but you don't see an error, therefore you know you've entered a valid 5-digit zip code. And finally, it needs some polish, but there is an about pop-up that appears for the application as well. So that's the work that was done this week on the application. I'll pop over to the code again to show you that the list view is there as well in just a moment. But first, let's just kind of talk about where we are progress-wise and where we expect to be. Everything you saw there was expected to be delivered for Sprint 1, so we delivered all of our expected outcomes for this sprint right on schedule. It was a rough start, as you know. I'm not going to go back and rehash the rough start we got on the application, but we are back on track. We are on schedule. The big risk, obviously, going forward is that Sprint 2 and Sprint 3 are significantly heavy sprints because Sprint 1 had to be lighter due to all of the trouble we had getting started. But we are on track. We're where we need to be, and I feel like we're in a pretty good place. By the time Sprint 2 rolls around, you will see some of the API work finally come in. You'll see a lot more polish in the UI. You'll see real data being fed to some of those screens, and you will actually be able to find a list of politicians for a given area and actually get some real live data about those politicians. So by this time next week, you should see what really is a full-fledged application in the making. Outside of that, yeah, we are on schedule, like I said. Obviously, some of the features that you just saw are in prototype stage and they're not actually hooked up the way they're going to be. Network connectivity, as an example, isn't going to pop up right when the application starts. It's going to wait until you actually try to do something before it warns you. It's not just going to pop up right there at the beginning of the application. Zip code entry is actually going to do something rather than just keep you there on the main menu. But it was more to make sure that those features could be implemented and that they work properly. And they do for this sprint. So let's take a look at the code real quick, just so you can see where the list view is, so you know that I'm not messing with you. And then we will wrap this up and move on to Sprint 2. Okay, so as you can see here, we are now looking at within Eclipse. I have the layouts for the politician results and the politician details screens, as you saw in the application before. They do have list views embedded in them. There's just simply no data yet to feed those list views, so they appeared as blank within the application, but you can see that they do both exist, and they are ready to get data and to get adapters once we actually have data to feed to them. And just to show you real quick, as you can see here, I've actually just created some debug code as well, just to utilize some of these features that I built, just so we can see them in action. Specifically, the button clicks to advance through to the next pages, and the zip code entry, essentially just logging out data for now until we actually use it to help populate an API. So that is where we are at for Sprint 1, on schedule, on track, with a lot of robust milestones for the next 2 weeks to come. I think getting through Sprint 2 and still being on track is going to be a big key to our success. If we fall behind Sprint 2, it's simply going to make Sprint 3 that much more difficult, because Sprint 3 is going to be a significant milestone, and it is going to be the one that makes or breaks this application, because that's where the bulk of the social features are going to be coming in. So we will continue to monitor our progress, but for now we are on track and ready to move on to Sprint 2. I will speak to you again in about a week to show you my progress. Thank you.